Good Monday morning. Boomer is out for the week, and we always have different summer combinations that happen. And this week, we've got me, Eddie, and Al all in. Jerry and Boomer are off, so we've got very interesting combinations all week. So as I was putting together the fill-ins with Spike about 3 days ago, and we realized that Jerry wasn't here as well, we were saying, all right, we think we have something for Monday, but we're not sure. And then the Monday one fell apart, so I walked in here, I believe it was Friday morning. Could have been Thursday, it was Friday morning. And I said to Al, you want to do it? And immediately, the first word out of his mouth was, no! I said, well, why not? 4 hours is a lot, man. It's a lot. And I said, well, I owe Gallo an hour because he jumped in the ocean with me, so we could do 3 hours. I said, okay, that sounds all right. I'll do it, and I'll do the warm-up show, too. And then I drive in this morning. You're off the warm-up show. You're doing 3 hours, but you are here, and from 6 to 9, you are sitting in Boomer's chair. Good morning, Al. How are you?
Oh, hi there. Yeah, I thought, when I was telling the man who makes the schedule, I said, I'm going to work with Gio on Monday. I said, so we need somebody for a producing role, and I said, if that person is also capable and wanting to, and you all agree that they can do the warm-up show, great. If not, I'll do it. And they came back. They said, Big Zoo's in the chair. And I said, all right.
Big Zoo. And I got to say, though, Zoo, when you started the show very sportsy, you got you digging through the Orioles prospects that could come back at a potential Justin Verlander trade. I didn't like that version of Big Zoo, but I did like the we gonna smack that Sean Payton booty.
Oh, yeah.
That's
gonna clap those cheeks.
It took him a little while to get warmed up to that zoo over there. It's tough at 5 a.m. By 5:45, he was doing booty things. Booty references.
Oh, Sean Payton booty.
5:45 is always about booty o'clock for me.
Right.
Yeah, so of course, naturally. So you've done this once with Jerry. You did 5 hours. You did a warm-up show and then 4 hours. Or this is the only other time that you've done multiple hours.
Right.
And intimidating at all as you sit here now? You always freak out about these things, I think, more than you should.
No, not intimidating because, I have this discussion with Jerry a lot of times. And Jerry, when Jerry fills in for you, he is the show leader.
Right.
When Jerry fills in for Boomer, you're the show leader. It's a lot more relaxing atmosphere.
Right. You just sit there and you respond to whatever we say. You don't have to come up with it. You don't have to introduce the topics. You just react.
You need to know what's going on, which I do. I've done my show sheet and I have the knowledge. But then, it's not my role to do that part. So that part's nice.
All right. Well, very good. Well, let's get into it a little bit. Now, I like being right about things just like everybody else does. I don't like being right as much as Boomer likes to be right. He really likes to be right. But some of the stuff with the Jets, I told you that 6 months ago. I told you that 8 months ago. And he's actually been right about it.
He has. He definitely has Jet sources.
Right. So he's done a really good job. Now, I've been wrong a ton. I was dead wrong about Daniel Jones, dead wrong about Saquon Barkley, wrong about a million things like every talk show host is. But I took so much joy in Max Scherzer getting traded and him getting out of here and being right about that, because there were so many Mets fans that were wanting them to come back, play better, thinking I was nuts for burying them a couple months ago, thinking I was nuts for bringing up trading Scherzer and Verlander. Oh, Max Scherzer hasn't been good as a Met. All this stuff. For some reason, that reaction that I got from Mets fans bothered me when I would say that he stunk, because I felt like they were hanging on to something that wasn't there. I think that they just forgot about what happened against the San Diego Padres, forgot about what happened with the Braves. We're trying to make him a pitcher that he just wasn't in a Mets uniform. Now he's gone. He's out of here. Total disaster. Mets are paying as much money as humanly possible to get back a good prospect. And now you're looking at Max Scherzer's tenure here as one of those joke tenures. He's going to be talked about around here as a joke for the rest of time.
Yeah, people had him, I saw on social media, as the worst Mets signing ever. But I was like, Jason Bay kind of was terrible. But I guess we didn't, with the pitching, you just expected so much more with him. And I wanted him gone as well. Just same way I wanted DeGrom gone. DeGrom, for the injury reasons, it was so annoying that he was never pitching. And then this guy for just blowing it in big spots.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, that was the biggest thing. Like that Friday night, I will never forget that. And for whatever reason, the Met fan that was so high off that 101 win season, that Friday night against the Padres where he gave up all those home runs, gave up 7 runs, got pulled out early, and then that was really the end of it. I mean, it just felt like they weren't able to win that series after that, and DeGrom pitched okay in between, but then Bassett got absolutely crushed in that series as well. And then he came back, and he was just weird, and he got suspended. And then the way that he handled himself when he's getting asked about, do you want to get traded? I have to have a conversation with the organization. I haven't had a conversation with the organization. Basically, if I were Steve Cohen and Billy Epler at that point, I'd be like, you know what, screw you, you're out of here. If he would have said something along the lines of, no, I made a commitment here. These guys paid me a lot of money. I'd like to finish out this season. Stranger things have happened. I understand that they traded our closer, but still, stranger things had happened, and we can come back next year and give a run at it. If he said something like that, he might have still been here. But he just basically bailed. And he bailed in a way that it felt like he was pointing fingers at the rest of the organization and not enough at him. Now, he did say, yeah, I'm part of it. But, I mean, he's been not good. Not even close to what the money that the Mets paid him.
Yeah, he did. And I love when people do that. They'll be like, I know I did this, but.
Yeah.
But that's the whole big part. It's like, the reason they're looking to trade people now is because you stunk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and you can't just say, I know I stunk, but. No, that's why we're in this position. All those games that he was supposed to be the stopper for, that you're in a 3-game losing streak, no big deal. Max Scherzer's pitching, then it doesn't work out. So, I don't know. Him saying, this is a bad look. I can't, we trading our closer. I'm going to have to meet the organization. Yeah, you're gone. Goodbye. Now, I feel differently about Justin Verlander.
Why is that? Because he hasn't been here as long. He didn't screw up in the playoffs and big games last year.
Yes, I think that. I think he hasn't screwed up. I think he's been pitching well pretty consistently. And he just seems like a nicer fella. He's like a nice guy. Like I even saw, I think it was Howie Rose tweeted that Justin Verlander, very pleasant on road trips.
Really?
How are you doing? Thank you for all you do.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd want to keep someone like that around if you think you have a shot next year. But I don't know if it's the right thing to do if you're able to get another big prospect for a 40-year-old pitcher who is making a ton of money. Now, Steve Cohen's doing things that owners don't do, paying that type of money to get these prospects back. But if you could do that again with Verlander, I think you have to, because Cohen's sitting there bitching and moaning about 2 things when he had that press conference. One was the farm system stinks, and 2, he's spending too much money and not getting enough out of it. Getting rid of these guys solves both of those problems. So if I would be, I'm a little bit on the fence in the sense of if he stays, I don't think it's a disaster. I think that's fine. Okay, let him pitch the rest of the year, come back next year. He's your ace. He's still obviously got a lot left. But if they traded him and did the same exact thing they did with Scherzer and traded him to the Orioles like Zub was talking about this morning, I would be, and get a top prospect back, I'd be totally fine with that.
But don't you feel like if you get rid of guys that were supposed to be major guys this year,
mm-hmm.
and they had a bad year, and you get rid of them, what is your team next year?
Yeah,
nothing.
Exactly. But what is your team this year? So you're just overpaying guys. To me, if you're going to have a year where you're under the luxury tax, you're creating a little bit more room to spend in years 24 and 25. You're also now getting prospects back and rebuilding that farm system. That's a better situation than just paying everybody to the point where you're the most expensive team in baseball and being 19 games out of first place.
But maybe, what if this year was a fluke?
And
they're like, we're going to run it back next. Do you think Mets fans would be angry if they said, you know what, we're keeping everybody? This was supposed to be a great team and a great year. For whatever reason, it didn't work this year. We're going to run back next year.
I would be. Yeah, I would be upset with that because I don't think they're any good. I mean, this is why I said the other day, and Mets fans were freaking out about this too. I think both the Mets and Yankees, if they miss the playoffs this year, it could be the start of it, multiple years of them missing the playoffs. You can really see that happening right now.
Oh, for sure. This is what I mean. Like, if you're getting rid of multiple Mets parts, then next year you're not looking for them to be in the playoffs. So how many years now down the road do we have to do this again?
Yeah, I mean, it depends, though. Like, let's say you keep, Starling Marte, Jeff McNeil, all these guys that had miserable years this year. Lindor's going to be here. Alonso's going to be here. If you keep those guys and they just have great years like they did in 2022, and then Francisco Alvarez is better and Beatty is better, that's probably what they're saying. And then, okay, we got Senga and Verlander at the top, and then we'll figure out the rest of the rotation in the offseason. We'll rebuild the bullpen. They're probably thinking that. Here's the problem, is that it's so expensive to go to these games, and the Mets now are trying to do that $100 ticket pretzel thing, whatever the hell they're doing to get people in the ballpark. You can't look like you're punting a year when you have Steve Cohen as your owner. That perception to me is the worst. So if you want to do some changes and get rid of guys, fine, but you better replace them with some legitimate baseball players, because if you look like you're punting a season when you got an owner who's worth $16 billion, that's really bad.
Yeah, I actually thought, you mentioned the thing about you buy a pretzel and a soda and this sort of thing, it's a discount. When I saw that they announced that they were going to have a Bartolo Colon day, I was like, they brought this up just like, by the way, we're dealing Max Scherzer, and Bartolo Colon will be back, and we're giving away big sexy T-shirts. Yeah. Like, okay, so that's one night you'll fill that because people do love Bartolo Colon, but that felt like an announcement, like, what can we announce now that we're getting rid of Max Scherzer?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. How do we get people in the ballpark? What do Mets fans love? They love Bartolo Colon. Let's put him in the Mets Hall of Fame. Let's give him a bobblehead. Be Bartolo Colon night. Yeah, I mean, there's guys sitting around a table somewhere in Citi Field coming up with this crap. And why everybody loves Bartolo Colon as much as they do, it's the fat guy.
Yeah,
it's the
he's
fat
the fat guy
thing.
Fat guy athlete.
Yeah. And you love a fat guy athlete.
I love a fat guy baseball player.
Yeah.
Because we get fat guys in football all the time, certain positions. But fat guy baseball player, I'm in. That's why people were angry at Daniel Vogelbach. I was like, let's keep him sticking around a little longer.
When he first got here, he got some hits right away, and everybody loved him because he's chugging around the bases and his feet are moving really fast and his body's going nowhere, and it was funny. But then it's not funny when you don't hit anymore. But yeah, those are the things that the Mets are going to have to do. And this is what I mean, of all the years and all the disappointments and all the failures that have gone on, I mean, this rockets right to the top, and I don't even think it's recency bias. I mean, this is one of the bigger Met things that has gone on in recent history. I mean, you can go back to that stink of that 1992 season with Bobby Bonilla and the worst team the money can buy is still lingering around the organization. This is now another one. This is just as bad to me as the Nets failure. It's just as bad. Now, there was more drama around that, but paying this amount of money for this team and being this bad, they're not even going to make the playoffs. They're bailing in July. I mean, that's horrendous. At least the Nets got to the playoffs and got swept.
Yeah, like, what do you do now? I even thought of this today. This morning was the first morning I woke up. I'm not going to pretend here that I watch all of the Mets games,
right?
But I watch every single highlight package, the long, nice highlight package.
Right.
Today was the first day, even when on vacation, that I didn't watch because it's now it's completely meaningless. Right. So I'm not even putting them on the show sheet unless it's something that's stupid that they do, like deal, or have some sort of trade. But to talk about the Mets had first and third last night and who cares?
No, that's
now?
over. It's been over. It's been over for at least 3 weeks in my mind. And this is just one of them. They've had seasons like this, but they have seasons like this where they were projected to win 78, 79 games, and then they're miserable in July and August, and you just go through the rest of the schedule. You got Gary, Keith, and Ron reading out of the media guide just to get through the season. But this was not supposed to be one of those years. This was one of those years that were going to be right back into the playoff mix, and they are done in selling, and today is the last day of July. They are done, and it's July. You got 2 full months to go of irrelevant Mets baseball with the highest payroll in the history of the game. And I think because we live it every day, sometimes because we talk about it so much, the gravity of the situation doesn't seem as large because we've been preparing ourselves for this. But if you really break down the facts about what this season is, I mean, this is as pathetic as it gets. If we were in another market paying attention to a winning team, we're like, my God, look at what the Mets just did. They're trading away Scherzer. They're trading away their closer. They might trade away Verlander. They had the highest payroll in the history of baseball, and they sucked so bad that they punted on the season with 2 months to go.
Yeah, and I actually think about the guys that are there are people that live and die by their teams.
Yeah.
And if you're an older guy, I know Joe Beningo talks about this, like about the Jets not going to win while he's still alive, and the Mets. But it is like it's another year gone by, and now you're already saying, okay, now even probably next year. So the older guys that are fans of these teams, like the Mets, what is that like? You're already looking a couple years into the future before you can even think that you might be a playoff team.
Yeah, I do think about it, but also with Joe, one thing that is always left out of his rants is the fact that he got all those championships with his favorite teams in the sweet spot of his life. And I know it's been a really, really long time, but there's a difference between, I mean, when you are a fan of like 16, 17, 18, these guys are your heroes. Like, it's the coolest thing in the world. And he got a Jets championship, which was one of the most iconic moments in the history of the NFL. He got the Miracle Mets of 1969, and he got multiple New York Knicks championships, all when he was a teenager. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. The way now Joe wouldn't be Joe without the complaining, but the way Joe should be looking at that is, listen, man, if I get another one, that is great. But I got every single one. And he got the Rangers. I don't even know how much he cares about the Rangers, but he got the Rangers in 1994. They broke that streak. It's the people who were born and died without their team winning a championship. All those Cubs fans who were like 90 years old waiting for a championship and died. All those Red Sox fans that were waiting and died. Those are the ones, to me, that I feel bad for when they're done and they never saw their team win. And then afterwards, everybody's like, oh, this is for you, Grandpa. But Grandpa's dead. He didn't see it.
Yeah, I got that Mets 86 in my senior year of high school. I mean, there was nothing better because the Mets were so bad for so many years that I was in school, and it was to get that. I do feel like that's why I don't feel sometimes, even as a Met fan, that I need a championship because I did get it in the sweet spot.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I was 4 during that, and I root for a football team that has never won one and then lost a bunch before I was born in the 70s, so I didn't see that, but I mean, yeah, I think about that. Like, what, am I ever going to see one of these things? Am I ever? And then once it's over and you do get it, I hear Jerry says all the time, like when that first Cowboys Super Bowl, he was like, okay, now what? You know?
Now what do I hope for?
Now, what is it that I care about? What is it that I hope for? But this is not going to be the year for the Mets, obviously, and it'll be interesting to see what they do later today and tomorrow. If Verlander is gone, if Pham is gone, if Canna is gone, if Ottavino's, whatever the hell. Now, Billy Epler said it's not going to be a fire sale. I mean, just let it be a fire sale. I mean, really? I mean, what are you hanging on to this year? If they traded anybody but Pete Alonso, would you care?
No. Pete Alonso's the guy that can't be touched.
Right. Like if they traded Lindor, would you care?
No.
Senga?
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, there's nobody. So let it be a fire sale. This team has failed miserably. Start over. And they got to get that young whippersnapper, the analytics guy, the Stearns. They got to get David Stearns in here. That's the guy that they want. Because this is Billy Epler. He's not cutting.
Where's this Stearns fella now?
He was in Milwaukee. He had a contract that was basically hanging him up, so he could not leave there to join the Mets. But he's been a part of the Brewers organization for many years, and apparently that is the guy. That is the guy that Steve Cohen wants, and then maybe he's the one. Maybe he's the Theo Epstein to the Mets. You know, what Theo did for the Cubs and the Red Sox, maybe he can do that. This David Stearns can do for the Mets. All right, Al Dukes in for Boomer.